I woke up to the sound of sirens and the sight of black SUVs parked at the end of my street. Neighbors clustering on lawns with their phones out, whispering my name like I'd just been exposed as some sort of suburban villain. All of this chaos, all of this spectacle, because one woman, the president of our HOA, decided she had the right to seize my garage. What she didn't realize was that she wasn't just poking her nose into my business. She was prying open the door to an active FBI operation. And that was the moment I knew she had finally crossed a line she could never uncross. Let me rewind. I lived in a quiet cul-de-sac near the lake, the kind of neighborhood where dogs bark at mail trucks, and the biggest drama used to be whether someone's trash bins were left out too long. At least that's how it used to be before Karen became HOA president. Picture a woman in her late 40s, shoulders squared like a drill sergeant, a permanent sneer carved into her face, and a clipboard that she wielded like it was a sword of justice. She strutted from house to house as though our tidy lawns and mailboxes were her personal kingdom, and she was determined to rule with an iron fist. The trouble started when she noticed I no longer parked my car inside my garage. She circled my driveway like a hawk, tapping her pen against that clipboard, convinced she was sniffing out a violation that would make her day. One afternoon, she marched straight over and announced loud enough for the mailman to hear, "You've been warned 3 times. If you don't clear out that garage, the HOA has the authority to seize it." I laughed, maybe too loudly. "Seize it, Karen. This isn't medieval England. You don't get to storm the castle and claim it." Her lips pulled into that thin smile that always meant she thought she'd won. The truth was she had no idea what was inside. Behind that locked door, hidden under tarps and stacks of paint cans, wasn't junk, wasn't contraband, and definitely wasn't anything she could comprehend. It was federal equipment servers, laptops, wires set up by my brother-in-law and his team of agents. They had asked to use my detached garage for a short-term operation. In exchange, the rent they paid covered my mortgage. All I had to do was act normal and keep quiet. And I did. Until Karen started circling closer, sensing something she couldn't name but couldn't resist. She came back the next morning, clipboard in hand this time, waving a compliance acknowledgement in my face. "Sign this," she demanded, "or tomorrow we open that door." My heart raced, but I kept my tone even. "Do you even know what's in my garage?" She smirked. "I don't need to know. I can feel it. And if you don't cooperate, the HOA will." She spun on her heel, leaving me standing there with a knot in my stomach. For the first time, I wondered if maybe she'd win. If maybe I should tell the FBI to pack up and leave before everything exploded. That night, I sat at my kitchen table staring at the garage through the window. Was Karen right? Was I the one putting the neighborhood in danger? Had I been reckless, letting federal agents turn my property into something out of a spy movie? For a moment, I actually thought about quitting, about letting her have her way. But then I remembered who she was. The woman who once called animal control on a Halloween skeleton. The woman who measured mailbox posts with a ruler. She wasn't protecting anyone. She was feeding her obsession with control. And if I gave in now, she'd own me forever. The next morning, she didn't come alone. Marge, her Facebook conspiracy sidekick, and Tom, her wannabe enforcer, flanked her like henchmen. They marched up my driveway with their own clipboards, taking photos of my lawn, measuring my mailbox, jotting down nonsense. "We are here to enforce community standards," Karen declared, her voice dripping with fake authority. I leaned against the porch railing, coffee mug in hand. "Community standards. You 3 look like you're auditioning for a bad courtroom drama." They ignored me and headed straight for the garage. I dialed the number my brother-in-law had given me. "It's me," I whispered. "We might have a situation. The HOA thinks they're about to seize my garage." The agent on the other end actually laughed. "You're kidding. I wish. If they get that door open, it's going to be awkward fast." His voice turned serious. "Don't stop them. If she crosses the line, we'll handle it." So I let them try. Karen grabbed the handle and yanked. Tom puffed up his chest and joined in, and the garage door groaned open an inch, then another. The crowd of neighbors leaned forward, cameras out. And then the air shifted. Because instead of piles of junk, the dim glow of monitors spilled out into the daylight. Sitting calmly at a fold-out table was a man in plain clothes, headphones around his neck, who looked up from his laptop and said flatly, "Can I help you?" Karen froze, clipboard slipping in her hand. Marge gasped. Tom looked like a fish out of water. I crossed my arms. "Well, Karen looks like you got your look inside." "Satisfied," she stammered, jabbing a finger toward the agent. "Who are you? This is against code." The man didn't raise his voice. "Ma'am, you need to step back, now." The weight of his words cut through the crowd. For once, Karen wasn't the one dictating the narrative. She was trapped in it. By the time she stumbled back across the street, dragging her sidekicks with her, whispers were already racing through the neighborhood. Videos spread online by lunch. People called her Garage Karen Sheriff Clipboard, even Neighborhood Napoleon. Normally, she loved attention. This time, she was the punchline. But humiliation didn't humble her. It fueled her rage. She reemerged that afternoon in a stiff pantsuit, stormed across my lawn, and hissed at me, "You set me up." I raised an eyebrow. "You opened the door yourself." "I was just drinking coffee." Her nostrils flared. "You'll regret this." And with that, she began her next crusade. She dragged more board members into her paranoia, staging an emergency HOA meeting at the clubhouse. She stood at the front with a blurry screenshot from Jake the teenager's video pointing at the agent inside my garage. "This man is not a resident. He is not authorized. I propose immediate seizure of the garage pending investigation." The room erupted in chaos. That's when Ruth, the sharpest elder in our neighborhood, stood up. "Karen, you want to trespass on someone's private property? That's illegal," Karen screeched. "It's for the greater good," Ruth shot back. "The only threat here is your obsession with control." The cracks in Karen's armor widened. But she didn't retreat. She escalated again. She called the police. I stood on my porch while she pointed at my garage, shrieking about dangerous infiltrators. The officers were polite but unimpressed. "Ma'am, garages aren't public property. We need probable cause and a warrant." Karen stomped her foot like a child, sputtering about bylaws and community safety. The cops drove away, shaking their heads. That should have ended it, but with Karen, nothing ever ends. 2 days later, a pair of shady private investigators showed up, knocking on doors, flashing cheap badges, asking loaded questions about me. Jake filmed the whole thing from his bedroom window and sent me the footage. Karen had actually hired a firm, probably with HOA funds, to dig dirt on me. My brother-in-law's voice over the phone was equal parts amused and grim. She just kicked the hornet's nest. "Don't worry, we're watching her now." The paranoia consumed her. She printed flyers, held empty meetings, even live-streamed herself, ranting about federal conspiracies in our neighborhood. Half the internet mocked her. The other half egged her on. And still, she wouldn't stop. She taped fake legal documents to my garage door, declared emergency seizures, dragged in a local news crew. Each time, she fell flat. Each time, the FBI tightened their quiet net around her. And then came the final act. A quiet morning shattered by the screech of metal as Karen jammed a crowbar under my garage door, a megaphone in her other hand shouting to the neighborhood, "We will reclaim our community." The crowd gathered, phones recording. Curtains parted. Everyone waited to see if she'd actually do it. And then 3 black SUVs rolled into the cul-de-sac, engines low, doors opening in perfect unison. Agents in dark suits stepped out, badges raised. The street went silent. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Step away from the garage. Karen blinked, her face pale but her mouth still moving. "I'm the HOA president. I have authority here." The lead agent's stare could have frozen steel. "Ma'am, you are interfering with an active federal operation. Put down any tools and step back immediately." For a second, I thought she might finally stop. But no, she lunged for the door. And in an instant, 2 agents had her arms, pinned the crowbar, clattering to the ground. Neighbors gasped, some cheered, others just stood frozen. Phones zoomed in as Karen shrieked, twisting, insisting she was protecting us all. But the cuffs clicked shut. Her voice muffled by the slam of an SUV door, and just like that, the reign of Karen was over. The neighborhood buzzed with chatter phones blowing up with clips of the arrest nicknames spreading like wildfire. But I just finished the last sip of my coffee calm, steady, watching the woman who had tried to seize my garage lose everything she thought she controlled. And that's the thing about people like Karen, they build their power on fear, on noise, on the illusion of authority. But the louder they shout, the harder they fall. Sometimes the best way to win isn't to fight at all, it's to let them dig their own grave.